feel so excited. I'm like, I don't know, for some reason, I feel like um, I am dreaming. Maybe I'm dreaming with a dream arc. Who knows? Because what Richard and Rosy and an amazing group of contributors have been doing over the last, I would say, years is just amazing, and is coming to life in a really beautiful way. So thank you so much, Richard and Rosie, for joining this conversation where we are going to be talking about the dream arc, the Codex. Uh, we are going to go deeper into some of the ecosystem and how this can help us all to get a state of world happiness. So thank you very much and welcome, Richard and Rosie.
Oh, thank you, Luis. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, so exciting. And you've been such a big part of it, big part of inspiring us. So it feels
Yeah.
very important. Yeah.
Well, I think the inspiration is really coming from you. So we want to learn everything about it. So can we start when we talk to when Richard and I talk? Normally we go to basics. So the basics is, what is the dream arc? What is the codex? Where is it coming from? What does it mean?
Shall I start, Rosie?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Totally. Go for it.
Well, the dream arc is based on this notion of the universal quantum field, or what some people call the dream time. You know, the indigenous people have terms like that. And so the dream time is this field that connects us all, and it's particularly powerful when we're asleep, when we're dreaming. And so when we go to sleep, it's almost like a part of us is dying and going into another realm, and we become unified in that realm. And so when you're working with a system or a program like the dream arc, you're working with a kind of dream yoga. And what we're doing is with the program is we're learning how to open up that channel wider and wider inside us, so that those visionary information from the higher realms, or indeed from the lower realms, from the unconscious, can move smoothly through into our waking life. And what that does is it animates our life in a very powerful way. So it unlocks creativity in us. It unlocks meaning, deeper levels of meaning. And the way of understanding the dream realm, or the dream time, is through symbolism, through the right brain. So the whole program is a program that works the right brain. And we live in a very left brain centered world, you know, in the left brain with its measuring and its timing and its, you know, everything is coded and numbered. And the right brain doesn't work with any of that. It works purely with the imagination, the creative, intuitive, feminine side of our being. And so that's what this program does. And it opens up that aspect of our nature. And that can really change a person's life. So, Rosie, you give us your best shot.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I mean, no one can describe anything like Richard. I listen to him, and every time I just feel moved to tears. But I wanted to share a quote from Paulo Coelho. I don't know if you know him, and it feels like a connection between the dream arc and the world happiness, that whole thing. So, okay, so there is a sacred, worshipful quality in any activity which has no goal other than to be a playful manifestation of life, as when a tree plays with the wind or a child plays with her toes.
Beautiful.
I think that just really captures the essence of the dream arc in so many ways. And I thought maybe, Richard, it would be good for us to share a little bit about the approach, that it's all about playfulness, which reflects our deep dedication to honoring and bringing out our inner child's heart in all that we do. And for many of us, the inner child has been deeply oppressed, suppressed, judged, shamed. And so in a way, this is a lot about happiness and a lot about joy, but also about learning how to coax out the inner child and to create a safe place for it to come out so that it can bring its imagination, its intuition, its playfulness, its capacity to engage with the world with an open, innocent beginner's mind. And then another quality of the dream arc approach is generosity, right? So this is all about our commitment to approaching each other in the world with kindness. And I think right now, at this time in the world, there's so much divisiveness, so many energies trying to pull us apart. Even in the family, even in our families, there so many people are experiencing an immense amount of division and separation and misunderstanding and judgment inside of the family. So for me, the dream arc is really about learning how to be kind to those who are different from us. And that also includes animals. Like just the other day, Richard was telling us about one of the invitations to work with the galactic dreamweaver spider is to learn to hold the spider in your hand, to learn to develop deep, connecting relationships, loving relationships with beings and creatures that are very different from us, that may represent fears or unknowns or areas of discomfort. And to really do that with the animal realm and let that sort of spill over into our relations with other human beings, because we humans are also animals. So how can we bring this generosity of spirit to our relationships? I think that's a huge part of the dream arc. And then, of course, it's all about discovery, right? So this is about learning and stretching and evolving and being surprised and just bringing a sense of adventure into every moment of every day. So we go out and we're in this living conversation with life itself. Everything can come alive when we start to really integrate. And we'll talk more about the details of how the dream arc works and how it actually gives people the how of that. But like really igniting this sense of excitement and discovery in our lives is a big part of it. And then finally, trust, right? So it's all about helping us learn how to surrender to this wild living wisdom of life and safe in this knowing that we're held in the loving lap of this beautiful universe. So it's also a lot about patience too, because right now, things are really hitting the fan in the world, and we're going to need patience, and we're going to need to trust that even though we're going through this big, great change that Richard speaks so eloquently about, and maybe can share more about, that we're heading in the right direction, but we got to do it together. We have to remember that we're all connected. We're all unified, so a big part of it for me, and I'm almost done, is like learning to have joy beyond circumstance. Like learning to cultivate that capacity for inner joy, no matter what's going on inside of us in relation to our feelings, our confusion, or what's going on in the world around us during these very turbulent times. So that's just a beginning.
Wow, what a beginning. Listening to you and knowing how many animals are behind. And maybe this is probably the beginning of going into a bit of detail. When I was listening to this need for trust, for discovery, for playfulness, for joy, something that I really love about the project, that actually some of the animals, actually, they bring fear to us. So we are scared of many of these animals. However, one of the big goals is to keep building trust. So can we explore a bit through the concept of fear, shadow, through the concept of inspiration, and the concept of hope, what the dream arc is about, and how you selected all these incredible animals to become part of that?
Yeah, great question. The dream arc is kind of a little bit based on my other body of work, the Gene Keys, which has this relationship to our DNA. through its code, through the code. There's 64 hexagrams from the I Ching, and there are 64 codes in our DNA, codons in our. We're made up of 64, and in fact, 64 is a kind of cosmic number that you find throughout the universe in universal systems. And so, in the dream arc is made up of 364s, what we call the Codex, an animal codex, and a codex is basically a code book, and you'll see these codices in different pantheons around the world. The Mesoamericans have their codices, and the Native Americans, and ways of interpreting the true meanings of animals, or the symbolic meanings of animals, both through their behavior and their mythology, and their presence in what they signify inside us. So animals do have, as they do represent places in our psyche. As Rosy said, we've been, they're inside us. We've been them, and their memory lingers inside us. And particularly as children, we're talking about innocence, is that children really have a powerful relationship to animals, through the stories that they hear as children. And our ancestors have always, and our parents always tell us those stories around animals as children, because there's some deep resonance with aspects of our psyche, and that includes the scary ones. And when you come, as you said, when you come into the dream arc and you see all these creatures, so you have these underworld creatures, which are often the ones that scare us, and it's 3 levels. So as I said, 364. So the lower level, or the lower world, or the unconscious, the old indigenous societies almost always divided the universe, the quantum dream time, into 3. The lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And the lower world, or the unconscious, as we now know, that's one way we might understand it, or the subconscious, is where all those underworld creatures live. And a lot of those underworld creatures do indeed live under the earth. Not all of them, but because it's reptiles, it's amphibians, it's fish, it's creepy crawlies and insects. A lot of the insects live in the air, obviously, but so these are the kind of biters and the kind of the burrowers and the diggers, and the things that live down in the deeps. And so we call them the fear keys. And so if you take we can look at them in a while, but if you take a key, like last night I was doing a talk, and we did a little oracle thing with the dream arc, and we got the earthworm. And there was what's the significance of the earthworm? And I said, well, the earthworm, it creates wormholes. It creates wormholes between realms. So its significance at a deep level is it allows us to make quantum leaps. And it also digests the earth as it moves through, and cleanses it and purifies. It's very good, as gardeners know, for the soil. So it's moving, kind of shit, if you like, through us, and then passing it out the other end, purified. And that's what all the fear keys actually do, one way or another. So you can look at a shark, or you can look at a spider or a snake, and they all at some level have this transmutational energy around them, and because they signify different fears in our system. So it's really interesting as you move into the dream arc, and certain animals that you either dream of, or that you're afraid of, or you find disgusting, or repellent. Those are really key things to understand. I mean, one of the ones that I'm working with strongly at the moment, because I'm in the course, as is Rosy, we're actually in it. We're in it's a program, we're in it now. We've created it, but then we never were in it. Now we're in it. So we're having the experience. It's very powerful. The one that came up for me was the crocodile. And I've never really had a relationship with crocodiles. I don't live in a part of the world where they live. I think I've seen them in the zoo. I've never seen them I may have seen them once in the wild. But I realized, I found a story about a saint who used to swim with crocodiles. And, you might think that's like impossible. Crocodiles seem so mean and kind of unpredictable. But actually, they're just, all these creatures are little shards of divinity. And if we don't approach them with fear, if we approach them as that, you know, God to God or love to love, they absolutely pick up on that. And they respond differently. And so even a creature that seems really cold and distant and like a crocodile actually has a playfulness inside it. But we've just never found that. We never looked deep enough. You know, and that's the case with all our fears and all these things. So it can really change your relationship to the underworld. And that's the underworld. Shall I give the middle world to you, Rosie? And you can tell us about the middle world.
Keep going. You're doing wonderfully. No, I love the way you do this. I might share a little bit when you're done, but just keep going. You're in the flow.
You sure?
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, the
All
Codex is Richard's gift to the world. You know, I think we need to honor that.
But people love hearing from you as well. I'm not going to let you get away with that.
They'll hear from me.
You can you can choose. I'm going to give you either the birds or the mammals. Which would you rather have?
Can I just say that I just want a presence that generosity has also come to life through the dream arc by each of us bringing our unique gifts to the table, right? And I think this is connected to the mammals. I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about it. But I just want to say it's an example of collaboration and synergistic gift sharing. Whereas Richard is the sage of the dream arc. He comes with this incredible body of knowledge that he's accumulated over Lord knows how many lifetimes, and does such a beautiful job of that. And the Codex is really his work. And before we even created the online course, the Codex already existed. So I just want to acknowledge that, Richard, and people will get to know me over time. I'm the guide of the dream arc. My job is to take these incredible concepts and try to put them into experiences and invitations and practical opportunities for people to really live it in their own lives. That's one of the main things that I've done, as well as gathering up the village, like bringing in people from all over, contributors, indigenous wisdom keepers, people like you, Luis, and your incredible project that we'll talk about eventually, and fold it into the dream arc so that it can have like a communal, expansive life going forward. And then we have Sally Middleton, who has been our voyager. But now Richard and I are starting to get in, but she's been in there for a while. And she's done many other things for us, of course, but she has been the one who synthesizes everything that Richard says and what I say, and she'll do an invitation and then she'll integrate it with her everyday life. And then we've had Elijah, the wizard, who has just taken all of our dreams and made it come true in online format with his incredible artistry. So I think I just want to presence that we all have our gifts. And now the people who are joining and are starting to share in the forum and are taking it out into the world, you're the ones who are actually going to make the dream arc come to life, because this is a collective effort. And so I hope it's okay. So anyway, this is connected to the mammals, because the mammals are all about our gifts. You know, it's about our gifts as human beings, the ones that we express out in the world, in life. And I'd like you to share more about that from here. But I thought that might be a nice way to weave it together.
That's beautiful, Rosie.
Okay.
Thank you. And yeah, so nice that you mentioned the collaborative nature of the dream arc. It really is. It's been created by an entire village. You know, you'll see when we share in a while some of the course stuff, you'll see that that we have indigenous elders that we've interviewed and from all around the world in different lineages, and they're in the course, and loads of artists and poets and musicians and bards and mystics have also fed into this course, and our community have fed little bites of wisdom that have been beautifully put together in this course, as videos, as audios, as stories, as as artistry, and all kinds of, it's taken us 3 years to create it, and it's very, very, very rich. And it has hidden doorways and places, and so, but it doesn't mean you have to spend your whole time clicking around online. It's a very intuitive thing. I'll show it in a minute, but I just wanted to also say that we call this the online course that gets you offline, because what Rosie has brought to it is all these practical invitations. So if you click on a place in the dream arc, it will open up, and there's Rosie, and she's inviting you to do something completely random that you've probably never even considered doing before. And it's part of your spontaneous, wow, I didn't realize that symbol was going to lead to that invitation. Now I've got to like, what do you mean I've got to go on a journey and find a body of water and do a ritual with it? Or, you know, or I've got to go, you know, and cook a meal for a group of strangers who I've never met, or whatever it is. Like they are invitations that come from the creatures that stretch us in different ways to reach out. And usually they're about stretching our heart open a bit and connecting often with the landscape, with the creatures, with, you know, with life itself. And we are mammals, you know, so that's our realm, the middle realm. You know, we're bridges, the humans. We're that's what it's all about, connecting and love and joy, and that sort of feasting on life, and so you find all of that in the dream arc, as practical invitations and journeys and quests and things that actually take you into the world more, that help you connect more. You know, so it does get you offline more in a way. So yeah, it's very alive like that. And the mammals are, one thing I'd say about the mammals is because they sit in the middle, they represent a kind of a frequency of consciousness that is always bridging between the upper realm and the lower realm. And that means that, you know, deep visionary information, or epiphany, you could say, or deep wisdom from our ancestral DNA can emerge, you know, at the edges of our sleep through our dreams, and it comes out through these dreams. And even if you're not a great dream recaller, if you start to work in the dream arc, you will become one. You just even just entering into the community, there are people going, I never remembered my dreams until I came, and now I'm remembering them. And there are people going, I never used to dream of animals, but now they're in my dreams all the time. But actually they did dream of animals, because animals populate our dreams, you know, always. You know, and here's a tip, by the way. If you're trying to remember if you wake up tomorrow morning, you know, and you're lying there and you're thinking, was I just dreaming? What was the dream? You know, ask yourself, was there an animal in it? Ask yourself, the child inside you, was there an animal in the dream? And you might go, oh, I don't know, there might have been an animal. And then if you can't remember the animal or an animal, just invent one. And it's a sort of magical thing. What that invention of that creature does, you then begin to free associate with your right brain around that animal and what it means. And it's a really good trick. Pretty soon, it actually opens up the memory to the dream. It's just a little trick that we've learned, that kind of the animal triggers, especially if it doesn't have to be a mammal, it can be anything, but it triggers that dream recall. And then suddenly, even if the dream didn't have an animal in it, it might have had a person that you are, you know, dealing with in your life in some way, and then that comes back. So the animals are a kind of a bridge, you know, to our deeper ancestral memories that lie inside us. And then we get to kind of bring that out, and we can look at that and go, well, we have to contemplate it. You know, the meanings are not always instant and clear. I mean, yeah, I've written this book, this Codex that's in the course, and you can look up every animal in, you know, there's 192 of them. So most of the major animals of lineages around the world that have mythology connected to them are in the dream arc. There's you know, and even the ones that aren't are in it, but you have to do the work of finding out what they mean, because there's no creature that isn't in the dream arc, because the dream arc is the quantum field of the universe.
That's amazing.
Anyway, and then we have the birds. The birds are the guardians of the upper realm, and so they represent visions. They represent visionary information. They, you know, you could say that the underworld are the past, the middle world, the mammals are the present, and the birds are the future. They represent the future. So the arc is actually eternal. It's something that bridges past, present, and future. Because in the dream realm, there's no past, present, and future. You might have noticed that if you remember a dream, there's no time often in the dream, or time is distorted or out of sequence, or sometimes in a powerful dream, it's timeless. You're in a timeless space. And that's the pure consciousness, you know, when you enter into that. And that often comes down through the bird realm, because the birds bring these visions, and visions connect us to higher dimensional aspects of our nature. the part where we kind of reach up and become aspects of the, much bigger aspects of unified consciousness. And so each of the birds brings an aspect of that visionary realm. And often what happens, I was sharing this recently, and I share in the course, I talk about the dream architecture and the sleep architecture and how it works and the types of dreams and dreaming. And the most powerful types of dreams are dreams from the bird realm. It doesn't mean you have to dream of birds, but they're the dreams from the upper world. Because when that doorway to the upper world opens in your dream, when you're asleep, and if a dream drops down from that realm, you will wake up immediately after that dream. You'll wake up in that dream. It's so powerful, it will shake your whole being awake, and it'll be all around you. And you probably know those dreams. Nightmares often are a bit like that, but this is the other side. This is like an epiphany dream. Mm-hmm. They're dreams that change lives, because when they come, it's like a fragment of our higher nature is downloaded into our neocortex, and then it kind of comes out, and then through a process that's mysterious, we're allowed to remember it. But if that happens, your whole body might just you'll reverberate with it all day, and probably for several weeks and maybe years even afterwards. And those are the most powerful dreams, because they change often the direction of our life, because they change our view of reality. And so we can't promise, obviously, that those dreams will come to you, but working with a dream system like this, it's much more likely that you'll start tapping into those realms as well. Especially when you're prepared to deal with the underworld. If you're prepared to deal with some of your fears, then you'll get the gift of the higher dreams dropping in, because it's a channel that you open up. And if you clear the lower aspect, it opens up the higher aspect. It's a great mystery, that. And it's what the shamans have always done, in the old traditions, or the myths and the stories, and in reality, the shaman goes into the underworld to retrieve a part of his or her soul retrieval. And that's exactly what this is all about. But it's done in a non-shamanic way. It's done in an everyday way, because one thing we all have is dreams and sleep. We all sleep. We spend a third of our life asleep. Why not animate that third and bring it alive and let it flow into our waking life? That's what these three realms are all about. So I think that's a pretty good journey through them.
Wow.
Amazing. Can I just add a little bit from the everyday perspective? I just want to say that in the dream arc, we do work with the dream time when we're sleeping and breathing more life into it and helping us learn how to connect with it, engage with it more, grow it, and bring it into our everyday lives. But I also want to say that life is but a dream, and there are waking dreams. And in a way, the dream arc is all about awakening the imagination, the creative spirit. And so that goes with the Codex as well. Like, the Codex is gorgeous and wonderful and full of wisdom, and our imagination and intuition trumps everything when it comes to the dream arc, right? So, like, let's say there's an animal and it has a certain meaning in the Codex, but for you, inside of you, it means something else. Go with that, right? Like, and if think of your whole life as a dream that's living, and in any given moment, like what Richard was talking about if you had a dream but you don't really remember what it is, just invent an animal. One thing you can do is, like, think about, like, how did the dream make you feel, and what animal might you feel like that in relationship to? For example, like, if you have a chasing dream and maybe you have no idea who was chasing you or anything, like, oh, was that a lion chasing me, a bear chasing me? Like, what was the energetic quality? So it's a little Jungian, right? You're taking the imagination and using it to braid in, to create a tapestry between the little nuggets of wisdom we get from the dream time with the vastness of our imagination that we have access to all of the time. And that would be the same if you have a dream about a human being. What animal does that person remind me of? Then go to the Codex and follow that thread and see what happens, right? So just that there are no limits. It's not like you have to be a big dreamer to get anything out of this. Life is happening all the time. It's all symbol. It's all symbol at some level. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, that's beautiful. Because I've seen the evolution, something that it really, really resonates to me and our goal at the World Happiness Foundation and many other institutions is to get to a place of fundamental peace or a place of world happiness. So actually what you are creating here is the opportunity to explore, but at the same time reframe the way we look at things. So I think the reframing is so important in order to change the narrative and in order to start building the future and whatever we can imagine that is going to happen. And if that's connected to the realms of the vision of the present and the past, I think that here what we have is something that can be extended into so many different places, like education in the school, like actually, I don't know if you watched this amazing movie recent, it's called The Mole, and it's at 85 years old, man that becomes a spy in one of those places, in this case in Chile, where actually families are abandoning their relatives. And one of the daughters of one of these elderly people is very afraid that they might be mistreating her father in the residency. So they send this spy and he does all the exploration there. And actually you see and you face the terrible meaning of loneliness when you are at that age. So actually we can incorporate this kind of language even in those environments. You can actually, this is not about just entertainment, it's about, I would say, edutainment, but on steroids, because that brings us into potential real change in a microcosmic level and a quantum cosmic level. So I think that it's just beautiful what you're doing, and I'm so proud of being a small part of the project. Can we talk a bit about the way you have organized all these animals into tribes, into groups, into communities, and what do they mean? Because that's fascinating.
Well, might this be a good time to have a look at the course?
I think so. If that's okay with you, Luis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me know when you can see it.
Yep, we can see that now.
See it.
So I'm giving you guys we're giving you a look under the hood. So that when you come into the course, these are some of the things you can see. And you know, one thing I should say, and a question I guess that some of you may have, because I had it too, is how long does this course take to do? And all I can say is that now I'm in it myself, I kind of have the feeling it's going to go on at least a year in the background of my life, you know, because it's supporting what's happening in my everyday life, but it's supporting it at a symbolic level from underneath, and it's helping me understand and decode some of the deeper things that are happening. So I say that so that you kind of have a sense that this is something that's going to kind of drip feed from the background of your life, because it's so rich and deep, and it's not something you want to rush into. You know, it's something to take at your time, in your own pace, in your own speed, and your own way. So the first kind of, you know, I mean, there's a lot of introductory material. There's a lot I could say. I think what I might do is show you what we call the life web. I need to find a picture of it somewhere. Do you remember where it is, Rosie?
Let me see if I can.
Well, here we go. I'll keep clicking.
This is where we invite people.
Well, these are videos. Let me see if I can find it.
Let's see here. Your life web.
we don't know what else the stuff is. Well, here's some nice pictures here. Right, these are some of Sally's journeys, where she's using some of the tools that we give you. So you can cut things out and you can create your own life web. But the life web is essentially a grid of 12 creatures that, I mean, these are different ones that people have created, mandalas and things. But it's basically a mandala that allows you to kind of access these categories of creatures that Luis was talking about. And you know that they are I'll just get out of here.
I can tell you the categories.
So, when you come into the quest itself, you're going to find these different categories, and you're going to work very profoundly with your life web. You know, you're going to realize that the life web, which is kind of woven by the spider. The spider is very important in the dream arc because she is the great weaver of our dreams, of the dream time. And so there's a lot about the spider. You can get to meet the spider. There's spider meditations, and there's things where you go on journeys. And there are certain other creatures that have special resonance within the dream arc field as well. That, you know, the 3 portal creatures, for example, that guards each of the 3 realms or the 3 levels. The camel guards the mammal world, and the mantis, the praying mantis, guards the lower world, and the woodpecker guards the upper world. And so there are specific meditations and mythologies around certain creatures that you meet, that you come into in the dream arc. But essentially, when you come into the quest, which is the main part of the process, you start entering into these categories. So first of all, it's understanding the life web, because that's the framework that you're going to be working in. And so there are lots of ways in which we do that. As I said, you know, when I did mine, for example, I found natural materials in the environment that I was in, because you're asked to kind of perform a ritual in a way to open your dream arc journey, you know, to set the intention. And you can do that in lots of different ways. You know, you can do it, you know, through, as Sally used, like cutting out and using, you know, very colorful, beautiful, artistic creations, and you can cut out the animals as well. We could provide all the cards. But I should mention, by the way, sorry, Rosie, that Rosie has done all this beautiful artwork. So she's painted 192 creatures, images. You'll see some of them in a minute. And so, you know, the Codex is actually half Rosie's as well, because all the artwork is done by Rosie, and they will become a set of cards at some point. But let me dive in. So once you've initiated your life web journey and you've kind of grounded it, you start to move into the quest part. And these quests can last as long as they last. You don't know, but there are specific. You see all the symbols here. That everything we've set it up so that there are symbols that you can follow throughout the course. And it's, again, the right brain operates through symbol rather than through words and language. It's the language of symbols. So these are symbols that you'll see in every group of category. So all the 192 creatures have been arranged in these categories. So there are 12 guardians, for example, and and they're made up of, like, so here's an example of the guardians, right? In the upper realm, it's the swan, the emu, the eagle, and the raven. Those are 4 birds that connect to the 4 different kind of directions of the planet of Gaia. And then you have the guardians of the middle realm, which are connected to the elements, you know, air, water, fire, and earth. So you have the bull, the whale, the lion, the lamb. They're all creatures with very powerful symbolism, you know, from lots of different cultures. And then the lower realm, the butterfly, the snake, the turtle, and the crocodile, these are connected with the phases of the moon. So you have time, the elements of the earth, and then you have direction as well. And it's a way of, you know, the guardians are very important, and it's the only one of the categories that we ask or advise that you begin with this one, because it's about setting your intention, and it's about, you know, what we're asking for each person to do is to choose one of these 12 guardians, you know, and that guardian energy then will carry your journey the whole way through the dream arc. So as I said, mine was the crocodile. You know, the crocodile came to me through a very unusual way. And often that's how this dream arc works, is that we don't consciously choose, but something triggers it in us. It might be something really silly, like an icon that we see on the back of a van, or, and when we're considering which one. Or it could be, it could come in so many different ways. We might dream of it. It might be just that we just know in our heart. But be ready to be surprised, because you don't quite know until you know. So, and then a good example, if we look at should we look at the Guardians as an example, or should we look at the Laughers?
Let's go to
the Laughers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to say about the Guardians, or anything I've missed that's important, Rosie?
No, I think we're good. I'm aware of our time. Let's get into the Laughers. I think that'll be fun, and make sure that you show the steps between the explore the habitat, choose your animal, dive in, so they kind of see the navigational journey that you take every time you're inside of a category. I think that would be nice for people to see, and we'll get to highlight something special.
So these categories you see: the journeyers, the warriors, the dreamers, the hunters, the healers, the messengers, the tricksters, the leapers. They all have different aspects. So we thought, with Luis here and the World Happiness, we'd do the Laughers, because these are creatures that they're designed to bring joy to us in some way. They're designed to open up our hearts. So we'll use this as an example. This is the first icon, is about exploring the habitat, and when you explore the habitat, you're usually coming to this is a transmission. There's always one by me. I won't play it, but I'll hopefully show you just example. There's me talking about the Laughers, and then Rosie does a riff as well, so you kind of have an idea of what the Laughers truly represent. And then you're asked to find your Laugher, to find your animal, because in each category you're going to be asked to come to one. And this is where Luis has created these incredible mascots. I mean, Luis, do you want to say something about them?
Yeah, I mean, just building on the magic of this whole Codex system and the totem animals, something that we created a few years ago as part of the World Happiness Fest symbolism, was a first mascot, and is the one behind me. It's called Felicidade. So that's a combination of lizard, eagle, elephant, and deer. And it means the connection with source, wisdom, eagle eye, and learning from experience. And that came through the inspiration from Pedro Linares, which is a Mexican shaman, and he was the creator of the alebrijes. So which is a combination of different animals into one shape. So inspired by what you were doing a few years ago, where we thought, couldn't it be cool actually to play with all the totem animals and combine them, understanding which one represents each of the frequencies of the jinkies. So actually, there are 3 animals representing each of the jinkies. So what we did was to combine all 3 into one single animal. And that means that the laughers, in this case, when we look at the face represents the city of the higher frequency, or in this case, the animal in the category. But then you can look at the body and you can look at the tail, and you realize that it integrates many other animals. So in this case here, there are 3 multiplied by the number of animals in the system. So it means that we all, at the same time we are looking at one, we are looking at 3 at the same time.
Mhm.
So this is the beauty of the collaboration, is how we can co-create, and in this case integrate and create even more magic when we are looking at 3 animals at the same time and we see one. So
Yeah.
that's the story behind it.
So yeah, exactly. So here's an example: the chimpanzee frog kookaburra creature.
Maybe
And we
show a
are
couple more. Show a couple
yeah,
more so people can see them.
sea urchin, bee eater, and mongoose.
Yes.
Oop,
They're so fun.
they are crazy.
They embody the
Parrot.
spirit of the laughers because they make us laugh.
Yeah,
They're fun and playful and imaginative. We're so
yeah,
grateful for your contribution.
they are amazing. So let's say you chose this one.
Mm-hmm.
You click on it, and then what's happened is you've chosen the parrot, and that then opens up into the Codex, was one of Rosy's beautiful pieces of artwork, so the Codex, the whole Codex with all 192 creatures is in the course. So you can click through and you can look up any of the creatures, and it has guidance, it has the influences, it has the meaning. Influences would be like mythic influences, and what we difference. Like in here, in India, the parrot is associated with Karma, the god of love. In China, with Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion. So often it gives you an extra bit of something to go and research or look into, and then there's my version of what it might mean, and a contemplation as well. So when you choose your laugher, for example, if you're in the laughers category, if because one thing we haven't said, Rosy, is that after you've begun your journey and you've finished with the Guardian category, you can choose any category you like, in any order. So it's a completely non-linear course. You'll see down here. So you can go in, so right now I'm in the messengers. I started in the messengers, and I'm probably in there for some time, and I'm opening up and clicking up invitations, and then I have to kind of follow that invitation, which might take me a few weeks. And then when I'm done, I'm done. When I feel like I've done and I've got my message from the messengers or my messages, and then I've worked with the messenger creature that's come to me that I've chosen, and I really understand it in depth, then I'm ready to move. And that's kind of how these categories work. So let's click on another one. This is following a laugh that comes to the sea urchin. And then, what you can also do is, along here you have these are the threads of each of the categories. Dive in. There we go. Dive in takes you to lots of possibilities. So there's a whole load more symbols, and you're invited to click on one that you might be attracted to. So I'm going to click the dragonfly, and it's given me a little thing. It says, write a nonsense poem from your right brain, combining fantasy characters or made-up beings. Be open to the giggling inner child who carries no self-judgment. Go on, stretch. So that's one. You might also click on. There's a tale of serendipity from the seal. This will take you into a whole nother realm where actually this is a book that happens to be written by Rosy. But it's not always Rosy or no. Me. It's often someone else who's, Rosy's written a beautiful book about seals. So the seal is one of the laughers. So this gives you a journey into seals, and, so these, everywhere you go, a whole story opens up for you, a whole journey. And one of the things we invite people to do. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, normally it's not a story. Normally it's an invitation to have an experience. And some are text, like the one that you saw about the poem. The serendipity one was a very unusual one, and seals are actually changers. It was more that this is all about the inner child, that particular invitation where we invite people to kind of do a little quiz to see what kind of inner child they have. But if you look at maybe one of the first two, you'll see usually it opens up a video with an actual invitation to do something or to have some experience that has to do with the laughers. So this is, for example, connecting with your inner child. It's a whole thing. It's a whole video, and my voice is in the background, and you'll get It'll be lovely if you pick it. And then I just want to say, you see that there's one button that is a little bit differently colored. It's the light orange one, and it has a swan. That's Sally's stories. So Sally, as our Voyager, has created these beautiful stories. Most of them are videos where she shares about her process, and you see pictures from her life and how she's integrating what she's learning through the dream arc. And I really want to encourage people who do choose to do the dream arc to always check out Sally's story if you see one, because it's very inspiring and really shows you how you can actually make this stuff work in your everyday life. So I just wanted to say that. Continue.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Rosie. Yeah, so where shall I go next? Here's some featured art.
Yes.
I mean, another thing I'd say is that we really encourage everyone, like as you're moving through the course, through the program, if you see a piece of art that you like, or you hear a piece of music that you like, everything links to the person who has created it, either their website or a connection to them. So we ask people to, if you like it, then reach out and send them an email or connect with them, because we want to open up like this generosity, this. Artists, especially, and musicians often don't get that enough recognition. So it's another way of just connecting, perhaps making friends, and you end up traveling somewhere that you wouldn't have done normally. Perhaps you might buy a piece of art and end up with it on your wall. Who knows?
Absolutely. So keep going down. Okay. Let's make sure we share about the forum too. So go to the buttons and
So I'll go to the next one, receive some inspiration. In each category, there's a receive some inspiration. And this is where one of the things that you'll come across is you'll come to a wisdom keeper interview. And these are the indigenous people that we've interviewed. And they give the most incredible teachings and transmissions. This is Samson, who's an amazing man from Uganda, who just tells the most wonderful. He makes you laugh. It's perfect that he's in the laughers because he's just very funny and sweet. You can tell just from looking at him. And so these are, but you'll see that even clicking beyond that, there's lots of different things, in here. There's like, we call these animal bites. This is the fly. The fly is a laugher. How to do prayer spirals, and another, beautiful interview with Rosie. I can't remember his name.
Sam,
yeah.
I only know his first name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And loads of just different things that you'll come across. And then also we have these dream tales, which are little stories that have been made by members of our community and friends about certain creatures. So that would be a little 2-minute dream tale on the kookaburra, probably from someone. I think it might be Tamayo. I'm not sure.
That one's from Dan Regan.
Is it? So probably someone who lives near kookaburras, and therefore has a story about them. And so it goes on, and music and art and all of it. So there's a lot of fun to
go down to the art just so people can see. Yeah.
And you click on each one of these, and it will lead you somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you'll also get to expand your circle. And these are the forums. So there's a forum for every creature. There's a forum for every category. So there's a laughers forum. So you can go into the forum. You can connect with other people who are in the laughers category at the same time as you. And there are conversations going on. There's maybe connections. People maybe sharing with each other, maybe making friends. Particularly it's quite powerful when you have a creature and someone else is following the same creature. So this morning, for example, I left a note in the crocodile forum, and a really interesting woman replied back to me and was talking about the similarity between crocodiles and dragons, and in her contemplation with the crocodile. So it's really interesting way to connect with another person, because they're dreaming and working with the same energy as you. So, and the same if you're in the laughers, I'm sure there'll be lots of funny stories appearing in the laughers forum.
Can I just add a little bit there? Is that okay? I just want to say I've been in the forum over these past weeks since we had a soft launch, and it is amazing what people are expressing, experiencing in their dream time, their creative expressions, the stories they're telling. It is such a rich group of people in there. So I really encourage people to do that. To go in there if you're doing the course. And then also, I just want to give a special shout out to Samson Turanawe from Uganda, who, yes, is in the laughers category and is a delightful, happy, joyous person. But he deals with some of the biggest areas of human suffering that exist on the planet. And I want to bring that together when we're talking about world happiness. It doesn't necessarily mean just giggling all the time, right? Sometimes it means how can we apply our heart and our love to some of the most painful aspects of the human condition. And so I just wanted to give a little shout out to that. And Samson is someone that we're collaborating with in relation to a universal love curriculum that I'd love to talk to you more about, Luis, over time. Because I also feel that the Dream Arc can play a special role in education and bringing deep joy, the kind that can coexist with deep pain, to children in the world. I just wanted to put that in there. So keep going, Richard. You're doing great.
No, it's beautiful, Rosie. Thank you. And that's so much of an important message of the Dream Arc. You know, we're not just, as Luis said, we're not just doing entertainment here. We're actually becoming activists, earth activists. And that doesn't mean you have to kind of wander around the street with a placard banging a drum. It means you begin to become so impassioned for the creatures that live around you. Not only you start to notice them in a new way, but you start to connect with them, and then probably there'll be parts of you that want to help preserve things, that want
absolutely
to get involved more. You know,
and if I can give an example, Richard, actually yesterday I had lunch with an earth activist, and during lunch she was sharing about dolphins and whales. But actually have Heather, who is the head of the caregivers at No Barriers, which is an incredible institution in the US taking care of people with disabilities and their communities. And she's always sharing with me, Luis, I'm always dreaming with dolphins and whales. So yesterday, my conversation bridged two people who are dreaming of dolphins and whales. And now they are connected because there is a deep meaning in this case. Actually, this earth activist was explaining what the dolphins meant to her and the wisdom of these whales when they go and get birth close to Guam in the Pacific. So actually there was a recommendation is like, well, go and actually swim with the dolphins and you will see what's going on. So actually it's so interesting because the moment you start using the symbolism in a activism way, so you become an activist, you can really make a lot of good. So this is just an example building on what you were saying.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Luis.
And
then you, sorry, Rosie.
No, I just wanted to say, just to add to the animal piece, I can't emphasize enough the importance of the categories and those themes, because there are many ways to practice compassionate action in this world, right? So sometimes it's about being a guardian or a custodian for what's happening, or calling in the guardians, calling in the wisdom keepers, the indigenous ones who've been holding down the fort through all the centuries to make sure that we remain connected to each other and the earth. Sometimes it's about receiving a message or giving a message. Sometimes it's about taking a leap and taking a risk. Sometimes it's about healing something internally or practicing some kind of healing in the world around us as healers. Sometimes it's about dreaming the new world into existence as opposed to just resisting the current world that seems to be unfolding in front of our eyes. Sometimes it's about welcoming the unexpected, the trickster energy, and allowing ourselves to kind of work with it instead of fighting against it. Sometimes it's about working with unification. Sometimes we need to be warriors of truth, warriors for nuance. So I just want to say that, activism can come in many shapes and forms. And what I love about the Dream Arc is it encourages everyone to find their own unique way. We're not all meant to hold the sign in the protest. Some of us are. Some of us are meant to be whistleblowers. But some of us are meant to do something else. And there may be different times in our lives we're being called to call upon these different energies and archetypal ways of being in the world. So I just wanted to put that out there as well in terms of the sacred activism. Okay, Richard,
Thank
take
you.
it on.
Yeah, no, I thought we'll start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I thought because people have seen a lot, maybe let's just have a bit of fun. And I thought it'd be really nice for us to, this is the Dream Arc Oracle. So you can hold a question and you can ask the Oracle and it will give you a random creature from the Codex. But you can also ask for a bird, or you can ask for a mammal or a fear key. But since we're doing the laughers, I thought, should we all just hold an intention for a moment in our hearts, and then we'll collectively choose a laugher. So maybe just tune in to what is it that we need right now? What's the energy we need to heal our heart? Whatever's moving through our heart. And then I'm going to click it. We've got the sea urchin. Now that's like a really interesting one, because you're like, that doesn't make me laugh. I am the sea urchin. I'll read you a bit. What sweet delight that you've chosen me as your ally at this time. I teach the art of serious laughter. I teach the beauty of paradox. I come to loosen you up. Tightness comes in many forms. Are you tight because of your emotional situation, your financial state, your health, even your intense spiritual yearning? My contemplation is for you to soften up in the place where you are tight. I click the Codex and you can see there's a whole thing about the sea urchin, and it's it's about toxins. I won't read it all, but I have a specific toxin. If this describes you, I also come to those who become overly serious about spirituality. I have a specific toxin. If this describes you, try being human for a change. Take a risk, perhaps break a pattern, not necessarily for good, but just so that you can. Loosen your grip in some way. I do not ask you to change any spiritual discipline you may have, but I do ask you to balance it with some humanness. Be among ordinary people, unspiritual people even, and you'll loosen up soon. They'll remind you that the human way has its own magic and laughter. As Christ said, if an unbeliever invites you to dinner and you want to go, then go. Eat what you are served. Don't cause a problem for someone's conscience by asking where the food came from. There's a whole spiritual teaching in this statement. Do a reverse turn in some area of your life. So even perhaps a laughter amidst the suffering, but a laughter that comes from increased empathy rather than its denial. What a gift to give yourself. So it's about finding that depth of laughter, in even in the trickiness, and there'll be, you can, if you want to explore how more about sea urchins, which we recommend, find out the magic of all these creatures. You think that's just a kind of dead creature. It's an extraordinary creature. It's a fear key. It holds the fear of being human, which is a great one for all of us. Anyway,
beautiful.
Shall I stop sharing, or Luis, why don't you bring it back to us?
Wow, it's so beautiful, so inspiring. So hopefully today we were able to bring a little bit of what's inside this incredible. I would say this is another transmission in many ways, and it's so much linked to imagination and meaning. So I think I will combine transmission with imagination and meaning, And now it's up to everybody. It's up to all of us to enjoy it, to contemplate it, and embrace it as part of another tool in our toolbox towards collective peace, happiness, bliss, joy, and 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 understanding. So I just want to thank you, Rosie and Richard, so much for, and Sally and the whole team, because what you are doing is really bringing and rising new narratives for human progress, and this is amazing. So thank you so much for doing this, and thank you everybody for joining. This is just the beginning. Maybe one last recommendation for everybody watching. Richard,
Yeah,
Rosie.
well, I mean, on a practical level, this is a brand new course. This is its first month. So at the moment, there's 600 people in it. In a few years, there'll be thousands and thousands and thousands of people, hopefully all around the world, connecting, bridging, opening, exploring the dream realm, weaving this magic together, and hopefully really then applying that out into the world and in their lives as a sense of purpose, of preservation, and empathy towards other creatures and their environment, because it's got to change it's got to enhance our life and our environment. Otherwise, what's the point in us spending 3 years creating this thing? It's got to have that impact. That's why we've created it as a creative, inspirational way to intensify our inner life and our self-worth, and then to apply that all around us in the world. So it's there to support you, whatever is going on in your life. And that's its power, really. Whatever is going on in your life, this can be in the background, and it will seriously give you a support. Whichever animal is with you right now, whichever category you're in, that creature that you've chosen is exactly the medicine that you need, because you've chosen it, or it's chosen you, for a really specific purpose. And you need its medicine. You need what it holds, its symbolism. It's a part of your psyche. So the animals are incredible like that, because they give us this sense of inner power, and they help us break through some of our barriers and silos and fears. So if you want to do it, you can find it through genekeys.com. I will put some links, and you'll find it right in the front of the homepage, because there's a big picture, there's a big banner with all the animals on it. You just click on that, and then you can get all the details about the course. And we offer scholarships as well. A few scholarships if you're really challenged. It's $300, which actually is an incredible price, considering you're going to be in it for a long time and there's a lot of depth. So if you can possibly stretch to do it, I would love to see you in there. Rosie, I'm sure, would love to also greet you, and we'll be holding this community in the months and years ahead, and we'll be connecting and opening, and come explore with us. And thank you so much, Luis, from me, for having us here. Rosie, why don't you have the final word?
Oh, just if you feel intuitively drawn to it, consider doing it with a friend or a small group. Like, I think that when people sign up together, even though your journeys may be different, to have people in your life that you're sharing it with, that you can actually go on experiences and journeys together with, can be amazing. That's what I'm doing. I'm just going to tell you that. And what I love what you said, Richard, about it's kind of like our lives are the curriculum. The dream arc is here to amplify and supplement the curriculum that is our lives. So you've got all the raw material you need to get the most out of this experience. And just in general, just so you know, if for now the course is on the genekeys.com website, but if at some point it gets off the front page, look at the courses, look up in the menu bar under courses, and events as well, because we will be having events over time. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining, and keep joining now the Dream Arc course and the Codex and the magic behind. So thank you so much. And I see you in the realm. Let's see which one.
Thank you.
Thank you.